This is a 4-week program. Tonight, some of you would think it's impossible to play bar chords, but I'm very happy to see Sarah on screen because I worked with her about 6 months ago. You'll see her there, and if you could watch her equally as much as you're watching me on screen, because she is now well able to play bar chords and is technically very good 6 months down the road. So I just hope that inspires you another bit. Also, for the rest of the class, if I could just see your chord hand is what I need to see most on screen, because I can give you feedback on that as we're going along. I don't need to see your face. This is what you'll see from me for most of the class. Hello Mark, it's good to see you there. I'm starting this program with the most important thing you can learn about bar chords, and you don't even need a guitar to do this. If you can hold your hand in front of you like this and claw it. Do you see what I'm doing here? Clawing this. And the reason this works is we're staying with nature. We're not doing anything unnatural here. Now, I've made sure to turn my hand left because this is the position it needs to be for your bar chords. Now from there, I'll just turn my hand here. I'm going to join my third and little up near the tips. Do you see the way I'm joining these? Now, if you've done this correctly, your brain thinks you have 3 fingers instead of 4. One of the reasons you have it, Jim, that's very good. Very good. Yeah, just together. You might need to just squeeze it a bit that way. But the main thing is so that your brain thinks that you have 3 fingers, because you'll feel that it's much easier to control the 4 with 2 of them joined together. From there, watch the way I'm bringing them all in together, including the thumb. Do you see the way I'm closing them in and I'm leaving about the width of a guitar neck? That's the third step. Close them in, keeping these 2 together. Now I'll give you all a little chance to practice that. We'll review this 2 more times before we move on, because this is the most important part of the whole program. The step 4, do you see the way I'm able to hook down my second finger? Do you see what I'm at here? Can you see the way I'm hooking it down? You can hold that shape. Your hand should still be firm. Just hold that and bring that under the guitar and just bring it up. And do you see how close you are to an actual bar chord? It won't be 100% accurate, but you have a lot better chance than you would have had if you lost it. Jim, I'm watching you there. You've lost the shape, so you're in difficulty. If that happens, you go back to the start. Hold your hand out in front and claw it. Do you see what I'm doing? Level it and claw it. And then see if you can join the third and little. That's it. Even if you use the other hand to do it, that's fine. From there, we're bringing the fingers together. That's the third step. And we're going to then hook the second finger down. And that's the shape we need to bring under the guitar and up in front of the fretboard. So I'm going to give everyone a minute just working on this. If you find it difficult, it means this will have to be practiced probably 3 times a day for about 7 or 8 days. If you're watching Sarah, you'll see she's playing technically very good bar chords. You can see how she has grooved the hand shape already. I'm able to do all this in 1. Do you see the way I have the 4 steps in 1? That's your goal, so that you can just have the hand going in that way to get bar chords. That'll be the goal. But while you're starting, it will be 4 individual steps. John, you're doing superbly well there. Paul, you're doing quite good, but your thumb is too far left. Just keep it centered. It's just falling that way too much. Keep it centered. Seamus, can you keep your thumb more centered as well? It's gone too far to the right. And Kevin, you're hooking the fingers too much. You've overdone it. Bring them in. You're right. To there. Less than that. Just a little bit less. Leave a bit of room for the guitar. The thumb, Jim, will have to drop lower if you're going to do bar chords. It's not possible to play bar chords from there. So that's why we set the hand into this side position first. If I were you, Jim, I would still go back to this, because it's going to be a lot easier if you can get some handle on this hand position before you actually start playing your bar chords. So that's better. That's a lot better. Yes, Jim, that's a lot better. I see it. Seamus, that's much better now. Gemma, I'm guessing your thumb is falling a little to the left behind the guitar. I can't see it. I'm guessing that because the fingers are too bunched, the thumb has to be low and centered. That's the ideal thumb position for bar chords. Maybe a tiny bit left, but if it goes too far left, you're in difficulty. When you bring the finger and thumbs together, the thumb should be in a more centered position. The word bar is very misleading. A lot of people interpret it as what I'm doing on screen, which is putting a straight finger on. And you're out of the game if you take that approach, because these fingers have no chance of getting up in front of the fretboard to play guitar. You'll see that my nail is very definitely pointed off out about 30 degrees to the left and curved, not straight. If you watch Sarah, you'll see how technically good she is. If you watch her equally as much as me, because I worked with her 6 months ago on this, and you can see the results. Very good, Jim. I'm watching you there. Much better. Very good, Seamus. Getting there, Mark. And that's better, Gemma, as well. Your thumb is in a better position, even though I can't see it, but I can see through that guitar neck. That is better. One of the reasons I got into teaching guitar is so that people would not make some of the mistakes I made. But I remember when I was young, I bought a guitar book with 5,000 chords in it, and I tried to learn them all. With bar chords, all you need to know is 7 notes on the 6th string and 6 E chord shapes. That'll give you 50% of all the bar chords you need for the rest of your life. For the next few minutes, we're going to be working one finger, which is the first finger. If we're very smart about this, we're going to pretend that it's a bar, even though we're only going to be playing the 6th string on its own. Let's pretend that we're doing a bar. So you'll have something like a clawed hand or something like in your exercise. It won't be a perfect bar chord, but don't be putting one finger on the guitar like that. Just be maybe even halfway towards a bar chord so that we can build on it later in the class. I'm putting my first finger onto the 6th string in the corner of the 1st fret. There's a close-up. Do you see how much in the corner it is? Because I need every possible chance I can get to get my sound here. I should have mentioned the 6th string open as E. When you do E minors and E's, that 6th string complements all those chords. So that's why the E chords are all across 6 strings. Let's bring the first finger up 2 frets to G. And while you're doing that, you'll see a little fret marker. And if you could start using the fret markers, it means you won't have to count. Usually when beginners come to me, they're like this, or starting bar chords 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that has to go from tonight. You're going to do it by remembering this is the 3rd fret, where that little fret marker is, as well as it being the note G. And if we skip up 2 frets to the 5th fret, this note is an A. You'll have a fret marker there as a reference as well. You'll notice I'm not in the middle of these. I'm right in the corner. If you want to pick the 6th string, it's an E. You can pick it a couple of times. Yeah, Jim has cramped there. Rest your hand if you're cramping, Jim. There will be a bit of cramp before the end of class. If anyone else cramps, you can rest your hand and take a break or just watch what I'm doing. We don't want anyone going through unnecessary pain. The 1st fret is an F. 3rd fret is a G. 5th fret is an A. 7th fret is a B. 8th fret is a C. Good man, Jim. It's good to see you back. 10th fret is a D. And Michael, you're on the electric guitar, so you can go to the 12th fret as an E. You don't have to remember any of this. There's even a little video embedded into your worksheet with these notes for you to learn, and it's all written there. During the week, I need you to just try and learn these 7 notes. If you watch me, E, F, G, A, B, D, E, D, C, B, A, G. It's very easy to learn that. Second step to learning bar chords, we're going to learn the 6 most played E shapes. I hope you can go to an E chord. Can we take the first finger off? This is E minor. You can strum it if you want to. You'll hear that sad sound. of a minor chord, E minor. Put the first finger back on its E chord. You'll hear the happy sound, E, E minor. From E minor, if you just take your third finger only off, this is an EM7 chord. EM7. Very important guitar chord, and it's only one finger. And from there, if you can just bring your third fingertip to the third string, second fret, this is an E7 sus4. Very, very important guitar chord as well. So far we've done all of these without even moving our second finger. I left one chord out, E7. First finger is on the third string, first fret. And second finger is on the fifth string, second fret. Here's the key to understanding bar chords. You have a nut on your guitar back here, and if that nut wasn't there, the only way you could play those chords would be to actually bar with your finger to replace the nut, which means that these chords that we were doing, you would have to use your second, third and fourth fingers to do the same chords instead of the first, second and third that we were just using. Before we do the bar, let's go back and do the E chord using our second finger on the third string, first fret, and let's try to get our third fingertip up to the fifth string, second fret, and our little fingertip to the fourth string, second fret. I said fingertip, not your fingers, your fingertips. There's a big difference. Top players use their fingertips as much as possible. A great trick I learned from a very famous group called the Fury Brothers many, many years ago. They use their fingertips as much as possible, not just their fingers. It makes a big difference to your sound. Do you see the way my first finger is still free to bar? If your thumb is low and centered, you might be able to get your first finger back behind the nut, which gives you E as a bar chord shape. Sarah is doing it perfectly on screen if you watch her. Seamus, if you could watch me on screen for a second, you're bringing the bar in on the first fret, which is changing the sound of the chord. You need to keep the bar finger behind the nut because the nut is what made the E sounds work. From there, can we then move this whole shape up one fret? If you could just skim that shape up maybe another fret or maybe two frets. Can you see the way we're starting to play bar chords? Even though we don't know what they are. If you're in trouble at this stage, it's almost a certainty that your thumb has fallen left behind the guitar. If you keep it low and centered, you have a great chance of getting this right. Gemma, that's much better hand position now because your thumb certainly is in a better position there. I think I'll ask everyone to take their hands off the guitar. We've a long way to go here still, just to rest for a minute, and you can watch me as I explain something. This was E, E minor, E7 sus4. So when we turned around to make the same chords, you can see how we can still do E minor, E7 sus4, all these chords with the other fingers. The reason these are called E's is because the sixth string is an E note. It's the root note of the chord. But if we bring all of that up one fret, this is the F note we were looking at about 15 minutes ago. So whatever note the first finger is playing on the sixth string will give you the name of the notes on the rest of the chords. So this is F, F minor 7, F7 sus4, and an F7. And let's suppose we were up on the third fret, which is where the G was on the sixth string. That then would give us a G bar chord. G minor's there. G7 sus4, G7. And the same, the A position gives us all the A's. If you know the name of the note on the sixth string, you can just build all these shapes and you know which is the minor, which is the 7 sus4, which is the minor 7. There's a lot to take in there, so I'm going to stop for about 90 seconds to give everyone a chance If you have any questions about anything at this stage, I think you could unmute and ask me. But if not, you can just take a break, or you can practice maybe the E shapes, or maybe the notes in the sixth string, maybe just the exercise, something, just to capture something before we move on. Somebody unmuted. Is there a question coming in?
Just
Jim.
In terms of pressure you put on the first finger, what sort of pressure do you put on when you're? Is it a hard pressure, or is it the pressure of your index finger when you're barring?
If you see a close up of what I'm doing here, I need enough to get the sound. But if you watch this very close, I don't want to knock it out of tune. That's a different note. That's halfway up to the next note, so you don't want to bend it too much. Just enough to get your sound, Jim. But also, because it's early days on it, I would say the first couple of lessons, just touching and learning the positions and doing this. Do you see that?
Yeah.
That would be a good achievement for tonight, because we've 4 weeks to do here.
Barry,
Michael.
do you put a full pressure on the 6 strings with the first finger? Is there hard pressure?
I'm going to be dealing with that over the next 10 minutes, Michael. Yeah, you're right on it. There's a lot of people on this program who are not on screen right now, but I'm looking at the messages coming in. They're going to be doing the re-recording as we work back, but particularly for some of you there, it would be good to review this lesson during the week, because I can guarantee in 4 weeks' time this will make a lot more sense and it will open up a lot of doors. The people in this class tonight are from Ireland, where myself and Jim are, and England, France, Spain, one in Italy, a man called Andrea, as a very young upcoming songwriter in New York called Jojo Garson, Seattle, Venezuela, Malaysia, Germany. You'll see them dropping in and out over the next 4 weeks. To start answering Michael's question, I want to get everyone to build a bar chord, starting with the bar on the 6th string, 3rd fret. We're barring across 6. When you're playing for real, you will apply a lot of pressure, but just for now, you can just lightly touch the strings. So the 2nd finger then is on the 3rd string, up 1 fret, and the 3rd finger is on the 5th string, 2nd fret from the bar finger, and the little finger is just under it. This is a G bar chord. Sarah has it there, so if you watch her equally as much as me, this is a G bar chord. You can strum it to see what kind of sound you're getting from it. If you watch what you can do with bar chords, and this particularly for Jojo in New York, who writes songs which are full of this technique I'm going to show you. Watch the way I'm able to release the bar finger underneath so that only the 6th string is pressing. Songwriters would use this technique. If I strum the chord, it can sound even better than a bar chord. There's chords in guitar, what I call colored chords. So instead of doing the full bar, you would look for the open version of it. They're easier to play and they sound better. So that's the stepping stone we're going to use to start getting our sound. I hope that's helping you there, Michael, with your question. I use this technique as much as I possibly can playing guitar. For anyone who struggles with bar chords, this will be our plan B. John, you write songs as well, so you need to possibly look at this technique. If we can just start again, I want you to bar on the 7th fret. Up here it gets a bit easier because the frets are much narrower and closer. Again, we're going to bar across all 6 strings on the 7th fret. And again, you're going to add your 2nd finger on the 3rd string up 1 fret. And the 3rd finger up on the 5th string up 1 more fret. And the little finger. This would be a C bar chord. And I'm going to again, instead of playing the full chord, I'm going to just bar the top string only and not bar at all underneath. And I get this nice dreamy type of sound. If I'm in sessions, I would use this when someone is playing a C chord. I'd play this nice dreamy sounding bar chord instead. We're going to be looking at it in the song in a couple of minutes. So you'll see how this is actually easier to play than a bar chord, and very often it sounds better. If you need to rest your hand again for a minute, that's fine. Just a little word of warning, this doesn't work on every position. It can go against you, but once you get the weeks behind you, you'll know where this works and where it doesn't. You'll hear some of these chords I'm going to play. You can clearly see I'm not barring at all. I'm actually wide open with the string. B is a chord that's very difficult to play because you're holding 3 strings with 1 finger and you're holding 5 of them. So that's why a lot of people shy away from B. So I very often would have this over it, and it sounds even better than a B chord. So this will open doors if you hang in there for the 4 weeks. These are all coloured chords. They're actually bits of bar chords that you play instead of a full-on bar. At this stage, I asked you in your emails to have a capo nearby. It would be awesome if you could put a capo on the 1st fret, because I've put a song in here for you to practice. I think it's enormously important to have an actual song to practice with bar chords, to have some purpose in it, because it gives you something to aim at. This is a Bob Marley song, and most of the song has only 2 chords. The first one is a G sharp bar chord, and I'll explain sharps and flats before the end of the class. Again, everything we've done so far is in your worksheet. Because the strings are now clamped a bit closer to the guitar, it just makes it easier to get the sound. But I just found a lot of students would have a capo on the 1st fret, and they would then do their E chord maybe and use the capo instead of the nut, and then they would find it much easier to get the sound coming up 1 fret. At this point, I'm going to give everyone about 3 minutes, and I want you to just practice with your capo on to make it a little bit easier. And don't be afraid to unmute and ask me anything you want to while you have me there. And if you cramp, you must rest. Paul, just be careful with your thumb. It just might be falling a little left. I can't see the back of your guitar. That's okay, yeah, that's acceptable. Jim, your thumb is too high. It's very good for your C's and G's and D's and all that, ideal thumb position, but bar chords are a different position. So the thumb has to be low behind the neck. Do you see where my thumb is? That's where you need to be for bar chords. That's where you are for your D's and C's. The hand position changes, not just the thumb. Kevin, you're doing great. Your thumb is probably a shade high. I'd rather see it a little lower. That's perfect. John, you're doing great there. If I'm not talking to anyone, it's because they're doing well. I'm just focusing on the people that are struggling. Both Johns are doing very well. Mark, I'm just watching you. By the end of this program, you'll be cruising through bar chords. Seamus is the wise man there. He's resting. That's awesome, Seamus, and totally right thing to do. Kevin, keep the thumb down. It's creeping up. Sometimes tonight when I was moving chords, if you watch me on screen here, you'll see I was actually moving the guitar because it's the same shape all over the place. That's why we have this hand exercise. And that's why it's so important to get this. And I can build a bar chord without a guitar. Jim, just on your thumb, Jim, you don't usually be with us in class. Most of the others would be very familiar with this, but I'm just coming to the back of the guitar to let you see how the thumb is low for bar chords. And you see the way it's up for the A chord? Can you see the way it's up for these C's and D's, but once it's a bar? So this is where people get caught. They're not able to change from this to that. So you'll be covering that in this program. But you see the material I can... So do you see when you have the 2 thumb positions, what it opens up? So that's why it's important to get that thumb low and center tonight. And also all of that stuff I'm doing is going back to this hand position. And you can do this when you're driving a car or when you're sitting watching TV or on a bus or a train. That's your hand position for D's and C's and G's, all those type E minors, A minors. But the hand has to turn that way with these two joined and clawed in to get your bar chords. It's a different hand position. That's the most important part of this program. Thinking back over the many years I've done this, I know Sarah will agree with me because we were on this road 6 months ago together. And thank you, Sarah, for coming in there because everyone is watching you there to see how good you've got in that 6 months. I'd like to see everyone in this class where Sarah is in 6 months' time. Once you've got these, it's second nature. I do this without thinking about it. I just want to demonstrate a bit of a Bob Marley song there that's on your worksheet, linked to a nice light acoustic cover version so that you can hear some of the guitar. The strum pattern on it is complicated. I've put a simple pattern in your notes to give you a chance to work on changing from this chord down to this chord, back up. Just let me demonstrate this first and then we'll look at it. You're going to practice this open, not as a full bar. You can hear my guitar there, but I'm just using two chords. That's most of the song, going from this chord to that, back, up and down and up and down. I've left a capo on, which makes it possible to do this as open chords. So can we go back to building our first chord and barring on the 3rd fret from your capo? So instead of doing a full bar here, I'm actually only pressing the 6th string to get that nice soft acoustic sound. And then the 2nd finger is on the 3rd string, up 1. 3rd fingertip is up on the 5th string, up 2 frets. And the little finger is under it. So we've built the E chord shape. And I'm not even using the plectrum here because I find when you're learning bar chords, it's easier just to use the nail on the 1st finger. And also, if you keep your strumming to about 4, you'll get these very soft. The pattern I was using sounds like this. I'll do it slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. I'm going to keep doing this slowly, and you can join in with me. Down, down, up. I have to rest. I'm cramping here myself. We'll be dealing with cramp on lessons 2 and 3. In the song, I was doing that pattern twice. I was going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I was changing to the C type chord we built, and I was doing 2 of that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I was just going back to the first one, and I did it twice. And I went to this, and I did it twice, and back and forward. Right. And for almost all of that song, that's all you have to do to play that song. This is working because the capo is on the guitar. 3 frets up from the capo, you can get these open strings to work. But if this wasn't on the guitar, this wouldn't actually work. It would sound like this. You see that? With time, you'll get the experience to know when you can do this and when you can't. But if the capo is on the guitar and you do that bar across the 3rd fret, 3 frets up from the capo and 7 frets up from the capo, you will get these very nice sounding chords. Again, I'm going to let everyone practice 2 bars of the 1st chord and 2 bars of the 2nd chord. If you have any questions, by all means unmute and ask me. Sarah, it's good to see you playing open chords there because we didn't get to do much of them when you were doing your bar chords, but you certainly have them there now. That's great. I've put the guitar rhythm on your screen if that helps. The first bar chord you would go down, down, up, down, up, down, up, and you would do it again. Then you would change to the second chord and you would go down, down, up, down, up, down, up, and you would do it again. Then you would change to the first one, do it twice, then to the second chord, do it twice. You might see me on a very small screen in the corner of your computer. When you're doing a bar chord, if there's a hash symbol or a sharp symbol beside the letter G, it means you move one fret towards the sound hole, which is towards this. It raises the sound. So this would be a G bar chord. If there's a hash beside it, it's really called G sharp, not G hash. It's a sharper sound. And if you listen, as you come up, the guitar gets sharper. So that's where the word sharp came from originally. G, G sharp. And the sharp symbol in music looks something similar to a hash symbol on a typewriter. So that's how that crept in when the internet came. The opposite, if you had a little B symbol beside an A, you'll see that sometimes, or beside a B, you'll have an uppercase B for the chord, which would be here. And if there's a little B symbol beside it, it means to flatten it, which is to come back one fret. This is B flat, and it just got the word because it's a flatter sound. You'll hear this is sound. And as you go back, it flattens, the sound flattens out. Hash means you go one towards your sound hole, and the little B symbol means you go one back towards the tuning heads. That's all that means. I showed you G, the note G earlier on in the class, but we skipped to the 5th fret. So the 4th fret was left. You don't actually need to know the name on the 4th fret or the 6th at all. All you need to know is whether it's a sharpened chord or whether it's a flattened chord. You need 7 notes, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and you need to know that sharp symbol which is moving it towards the sound hole, or the flat symbol which moves it back one. When we introduce open strings, G sharp is this, it's not that, that's a different one. So that's why you have G hash 6 and why you have C hash major 7, which is really only this. When I was learning guitar, I skipped a lot of songs because of things like C hash major 7. I didn't realize they were actually very easy chords to play. It's just I looked at the difficulty and put the song away. So it's one of the reasons I teach, to make sure it doesn't happen to you. So don't be worried about the big names. You need to know what to do with your hand. It all comes back to this little exercise that was in your video. In case you don't believe that, I'll prove it to you. On your screen, you see this amazing guitar player called Neil Schon. People talk about Jimi Hendrix and Jimmy Page and James Taylor and all these people. I would rate this man and Glenn Campbell quite a distance ahead of Jimi Hendrix, because they fit into all styles of music. This man was with a superb band called Journey and Carlos Santana. Here he is singing, but he has his bar chord preset. If I'm changing into something, my bar chord is set before I arrive. There's no other way to do this. You can't come up and then try to start building a bar chord. You just don't have time. But if you watch him carefully, you'll see where he's preset, even though he's just singing. So he's gone back playing guitar there, but you see how far in advance he had to preset his hand to be able to do this. Even if you're changing from C to a bar chord, you will actually have to be presetting the hand as you're doing the chord change so that it's set before you arrive. I could have shown you any one of 300 videos with that little move in it tonight, from the Eagles to Santana to Jimmy Page, every one of them. The most important thing in the whole program is that little exercise. Bring that shape on and try and build a chord from that claw position, and you're going to find it much, much easier to do. This is actually the easiest way to learn bar chords. That's your practice for the week. I just know from teaching a lot of guitar, if I give people a planned program, they accomplish so much more in a short space of time. To summarize what we've done here, we had that 4-step exercise at the start, which was the claw. The next thing you will do is the 7 notes across the 6th string, and then the 7 E chord shapes, and the song Waiting in Vain. If you can just do your best to practice that with both the full bar chord, which is version 1, and with the open bar chord, which is version 2. That's everything you need to do. It's all on your worksheet, so you have nothing to remember here. But that is a very solid plan. And if you're even 20% better by next week, that gives us a lot more to work with. We can all unmute now if you want to. This class is over.
Thanks, Barry. That was very interesting.
You're welcome, Jim. I'm glad you could make it. You have an injury on the first finger, which doesn't help.
No.
But the open bar chords will get you around that.
Yeah. Okay.
Gemma, your hand is a bit smaller than some of the men, so the open bar chords will be an easier stepping stone for you to get that.
Definitely.
So when you get those, then you might transition onto the full bar chords. Sarah, thank you for coming in. I didn't get talking to you at the start of class. You played really well there, and your bar chords are 100% technically right, which is awesome.
I'm still buzzing quite a lot though. It's difficult to play without buzzing on that finger.
On your first finger, yes.
Yeah.
You need to be on the side of the finger. And also, when I'm playing a lot, my finger hardens a bit down here.
Yeah.
And the other thing that might cause that, some of the cheaper guitars, if the strings are a bit too far away up here.
Yeah, I think mine's too high.
To adjust that, you do need a good guitar to play bar chords, to practice it, because you'll be
You know, the index finger again, Porrick. If 10 is the maximum amount of pressure you should have on that finger, what pressure should you have playing the bar chord? 6, 5, 4?
I would say the pressure is whatever claw pressure you have here. The pressure should come from the whole hand, not just one finger on its own. Everything comes back to that, whether it's pressure or chord, everything.